Welcome to Vedic Mathematics Basis Base Values classes. We are in phase 6, in which the Vedic Mathematics Science and Technology as discipline is being considered, and the focus here is going to be of formats, values, compendium. We are preparing format values compendium. During previous phases, we have been focusing upon transcendental code values. We were preparing our TCV dictionaries, and now we are preparing our format values compendium. Today, the basic aspect being taken up is that how this discipline of Vedic Mathematics, Science and Technology is different than the discipline of Vedic Mathematics. We can recapitulate that Vedic Mathematics is pure values discipline of Ved, and Vedic Mathematics, Science and Technology is the discipline of applied values of Ved, which makes it Upaved. Therefore, there are a pair of formulations, Ved and Upaved. Ved and Upaved are two formulations. These pair of formulations are of TCV values 20 and 29. Now, value 20 will give us a particular format which will take us to Vedic Mathematics, and value 29 will give us a format which takes us to Vedic Mathematics, Science and Technology. Now, here in our formats values compendium, our focus is that we should reach from values to formats. The value here is 20. Then let us see what is its format. Value here is 29, and see what is its format. Or now the value 29 we can recapitulate is equal to TCV Brahma. And further let us recapitulate that Brahma is overlord of 4 space. So hypercube 4 is the representative regular body of 4 space, and it is here where it Upaved with its value 29 takes us to. Therefore, today focus shall be upon the format of formulation Upaved. Upaved is a formulation. It is of value 29. It is parallel to the value of formulation Brahma. Now, we should further recapitulate that the formulation Mansara, a scripture of Sthapatya Upaved, is also 29. So it will help us appreciate and comprehend as that Mansara is the basic scripture of Sthapatya Upaved. Mansara is a scripture. It is a scripture of Sthapatya Upaved. Therefore, the value and features of the knowledge organized as Mansara as a scripture is of value 29, and this value is of the order of the value of Brahma, and Brahma is the overlord of 4 space, and 4 space plays the role of a Mayer of this Sthapatya Mayering rod. These all interrelated features will help us see how, when we will be progressing with our compilation, updating of formats values compendium, and the focus will come to be upon 4 space as a creator space, or upon Lord Brahma, the overlord of 4 space, or upon the idol of Lord Brahma. One will have a pause here and take note that the value 29 is of the organization 2 into 14 plus 1, which is parallel to the 29 versions of hypercube 14. Now, this reach up till 29 from the hypercube 4, which is a fourfold manifestation layer, and it is of summation value 14. Therefore, creators the space, 4 space, with its hypercube 4 as a representative regular body is taking us to a fourfold manifestation layer of summation value 14, and therefore at the second stage of manifestation or at the stage of remanifestation will be reaching at hypercube 14, and this hypercube 14 will be the R of the versions, 29 versions, which becomes the transcendental code value of the formulation Brahma. Therefore, the value accepted by the formulation Brahma is a value parallel to 29 versions of hypercube 14 or 29 geometries range of hypercube 14. It is this reach which is a reach which gives us a particular format of a particular values. This way we will be making an entries in our format values compendium. We will be taking up one particular value, and from here we will be reaching at the format, and then we will be compiling all the features of that particular format. Or otherwise we will be, when we will be making an entry of Upaved in our compendium, then we will be seeing that it is of value 29, which value 29 is parallel to TC value of formulation Brahma. Brahma is the four-lord overlord of 4 space, and 4 space is a fourfold manifestation layer of summation value 14, which takes us to value 29 as a remanifestation. Now, therefore, the format being provided by the formulation Upaved, or the format Upaved as a format of value 29 brings into a remanifestation process. Within 4 space is a fourfold manifestation layer. It is of a spatial order. Now it is this spatial order which gives us remanifestation. First manifestation when it is of hypercube 4, and this remanifestation will take us to H14. It is this feature which is a very beautiful feature. It is of very wide implications. It gives us a wide features for the applied values. It is this value, it is this application, it is this feature, and it is this application which shall be comprehended well. It should be comprehended fully. Therefore, one shall make a specific entry, a specific note, a full expression of one's comprehension of the entry being made in our formats values compendium. This entry, the entry of Upaved itself, is source. So it is Upaved is the source formulation. This Upaved takes us to its scripture Mansar, and this format which is taking us to Mansar is actually maintaining value 29. This maintenance of value 29 is actually taking us to the formulation Brahma. The formulation Brahma takes us to the overlord of real 4 space, and the features of idol of Lord Brahma are parallel to the features of hypercube 4, and it is this format and these values of 14 taking us to value 29 as a remanifestation process. Therefore, while we shall be tabulating, while we will be consolidating in our compendium about the first entry about the Ved Upaved. Upaved is a formulation. Upaved is of value 29. It takes us to Mansara as the scripture as of the Sthapatya Upaved. So the Sthapatya Upaved of Atharvaved. Therefore, like that sequentially, we are reaching and getting interconnected. It is this sequential interconnection along the format is the actual need of the carrying forward the applied values. So pure values to be carried forward as applied values is the basic chase, basic desire, basic expectation, and actually basic end reach of the applied values of that will make ultimately the Vedic mathematics, science and technology. Now here let us see that value 20, which is parallel to value Ved, and it is also equal to Dev, and it also is equal to Vrit, and the same is also that way taking us to a pure values. So value 20 as such deserves to be chased. This value 20 will see it takes us to a synthesis of a pair of transcendence ranges of order 0. So a pair of transcendence ranges of order 0 when get synthesized, these lead to a value 20. As such, the pure values are in the form of the synthesis of the transcendence ranges. On the other hand, value 29 is value of Brahma, and it is Upaved, and it is Mansara, and like that this value 29 takes us to creator space and avails the format of hyperQ4 for its remanifestation. So these two features will ultimately take to two basic concepts and two basic formulations and two basic chase steps. This pair of chase steps of Vedic mathematics and of Vedic mathematics, science and technology deserve to be comprehended well. This value of 29 is the concept which takes us to domain split spectrum. Domain split spectrum. One shall make a specific entry taking it to be, it is here where one basic phenomenon, it is one basic processing step, it is one basic processing features of the Vedic mathematics, science and technology which is being introduced here. And this another, the value 20 as such is taking us to synthesis of dimensions. Synthesis of dimensions. These are pair of concepts, these are pair of phenomena, and these are pair of reach steps of Ved and Upaved. Ved and Upaved as pure and applied values, as Vedic mathematics and as Vedic mathematics, science and technology. Therefore, this table is a table of synthesis of dimensions, and this diagram, this chase is of domain split spectrum. We have to learn. Let us make a note in our lessons compilation copies in notes that the first concept as domain split spectrum of VMST and first concept as synthesis dimensions of our Vedic mathematics. Let me take up first this. Now if we are having n space, then it will take us, it will split as n minus 2 and n minus 2 and n minus 4, means it will this domain will split into a pair of dimensions of the order n minus 2 and dimension of the order n minus 4, and then it will be sequentially carried forward. Here when will be coming, and then it will be taking us that we are in first dimension. If we have pair of dimensions, then it will synthesize and give us a value n plus 2. If we have 3 dimensions, then it will give a synthesis value as 6, and like that it is to proceed. These two things are to be learned. Therefore, let us be attentive now. We are taking up these things one by one. First, I am taking dimensional synthesis. That means I am going to the pure values. I am going to the way, I am going to the Vedic mathematics. In Vedic mathematics, I am going to this table. In this table, actually what we are trying to do is that this Ved is of value 20, and it is Vrit, it is also value 20. Means we are availing the format of a circle, of a Vrit. In this format, we know that if we having this as a center, as a kendra, and this is a pridhi, and this is Vrit, and this is a vyas. So this pridhi, this kendra, and vyas, these are the particular features. Let us see how this format helps us reach at synthesis of dimensions. Let us have this circle with this as a diameter, with this as the center. Let us have this is the first one, Sogalita Sutra 1 more than the previous one. Let us have one more point here. Now let us join it. Let us take that this setup is of n points, of n value. There are n points which are synthesizing, which are constituting, which are structuring this half diameter, means this radius. And we will take it that it plays the role of an axis or a dimension. Now, for the present, let us take it that this diameter, this radius is a setup of n points. One point is here as the center, another point is here at this circumference, and the balance number of points are n minus 2. Now when we will be having a second radius line or a second dimension, then again we will be having 1 point here, 1 point here, and n minus 2 points to be remaining points between this pair of endpoints. Let us have a pause here and take note that if here we find out that we are going to the pair of dimensions, then 1 cross 1 again will give us value 1. So here it may not appear there is going to be any change. Now these 2 points which are at the circumference. Now we had this particular axis, first axis of n points value. We had this second axis and it is also of values n. Then 1 point gets superimposed upon the center, gets absorbed into this structure as 1 cross 1 is equal to 1. Now these n minus points, this remains actually a disconnected and a gap. If we want that it should be fully structured, then we have to connect it by bridging it. So for this bridging, we will be requiring n minus 2 points. These n2 points which were supplied by our second axis become available for us to be absorbed to fill the gap between the 2 points at the circumference. Therefore, in all, we availed first n points for the first axis. Then we had another n points for the second axis, but the setup ultimately gave us a pair of points upon the circumference, but the setup which remains, it remains only of the points, these n points and these 2 points. Means it gives us only n plus 2 points. We have this point available with us. We have this point also available with us. We have this point also available with us. These n minus 2 points are available with us, and these n minus 2 points are also available with us. Now, this way we are actually having only n plus 2 points. Initially we had n and n, 2n points by 2 axes. But as synthetic setup, as synthesis thereof, we get only as n minus n plus 2 points only. So let us make an entry in our this chase in the mathematics of the synthesis of the dimensions. We are taking up the mathematics of synthesis of dimensions. One dimension of value n, another dimension of value n means a setup of n points and a setup of n points. Now, out of this, to bridge the gap between the 2 points and the perimeter, we were requiring n minus 2 points. So the balanced value remains n plus 2. So we can write that if there is a single dimension, then the value comes to be n. If we have a pair of dimensions, then the value comes to be n plus 2. We say that the synthesis value of pair of dimensions of structures and then it comes to be n plus 2. Now if we are having a third axis, if we have 3 dimensions, if we have triple axis, then where we will reach? We can see that in this circle, when we had first axis, and then we had a second axis, we had bridged this gap with n minus 2 points, and then we reached that from n to pair of dimensions of value n plus 2. Now when we will be having a third axis, when another additional value n would be available to us, then let us see. Here we have to fill this gap as well as to fill this particular gap. So we will be requiring 2 times of n minus 2 points. Total points available with us are n plus 2 with this synthesis, and additional value available was the third axis n, and out of that we have availed 2 times n minus 2, and it gives us value 6. We can have a pause here and we can make an entry that the synthesis value of single axis is n, synthesis value of pair of dimensions is n plus 2, synthesis of triple axis is equal to 6. A step ahead, when we will be having a fourth dimension, then see, to this value 6 we will have an additional value n, but we will require for this third axis as many as 3 gaps to be filled. That means the gaps to be filled will require 3 times n minus 2. Therefore, the net value would be n plus 6 minus 3 times n minus 2. Let us see what it comes to be. It comes to be 12 minus 2n. Let us have a pause here. Let us again tabulate where we have reached. We have reached that when we had a single dimension n, then we had the value n itself. When we had a pair of dimensions, then we had the value n plus 2. At next step, when we had triple values, we reached at the value 6. When we had a quadruple values, then we reached at the value 12 minus 2n. If we have to go ahead, if we want to reach at the next stage where we will be having 5 n's, means 5 dimensions would be available to us, then in these 5 dimensions, if to this value we'll have an addition of single n, is the 5th dimension's contribution, but the adjustment would be required would be 4 times n minus 2. Then from here, the pattern, we can know that when we will add the another, we will reach a 6th dimension, then we will have a value addition of value n and subtraction of value 5 times n minus 2. At the next step, we'll have addition of value n and we'll have subtraction value of n minus 2. It gives a simple rule of reaching at the synthesis values. Now, the beautiful thing here is that this n can have any value, may it be positive, negative, 0. But let us first begin with the value n is equal to 1. When n is equal to 1, in this table we can see that synthesis value of a single dimension of value 1 is 1. When we will be having pair of these dimensions of value this plus this, these will give us 1 plus 2, a value 3. At the next step, when we will be having a triple dimensions of value 1, so this will give us the value 6. Here is the table that way. This table 1, 3, 6, 10, 15, 21. On the face of it is giving us 1, 1 plus 2, 1 plus 2 plus 3, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, and then 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5, and so on. But when we will be having value n is equal to 2, then we'll see in this second row that single dimension of value n is equal to 2 is 2. Pair of such dimension will take us to value 4. The next will take us to 6, 8, 10. It is simply going to be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Means 2, 2 plus 2, 2 plus 2 plus 2, and so on. There we can have a pause and see that when we will be having a value n is equal to 3, then the values would be of this odd situation. But before we capture it and reach further, let us see what is the pattern of it. The pattern of it is that these values, these first n is equal to 1 and n is equal to 2, we call it linear dimensions and spatial dimensions. So linear dimensions, synthesis value sequence comes to be 1, 3, 6, 10, 15, 21. Spatial dimension synthesis values comes to be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Let us see what is the difference between the two. The difference between the two is this difference is 1, this difference is 1, this difference is 0, this difference is minus 2, this difference is minus 5, this difference is minus 9. Now, when we will be calculating from the first principles, starting with n, then pair of n values, then triple n, and so on the width on a circle in terms of its another points, one more point, that original first principles. If then also we'll be reaching at this table. How long? How upward? But if we are seeing here the pattern, the linear dimensions are giving us these values. The spatial dimensions are giving us these values. And the difference between the two is also taking us to 1, 1, 0, minus 2, and so on. Now, it would be very beautiful, it would be very blissful, it would be really satisfying to see the difference between any pair. If we have value 3 of a solid also, here also this difference would be maintained. For the next two, so any pair of rows give us the same difference value. So this pattern, this table, though on first principles is to be reached and to be worked out, and it would be desirable that we should work out, and this desirability is there, taking it to be blissful exercise. But once one reaches at, the tabulation gives us a very simple compilation, very simple coordination. By very simple steps, you can reach at the synthesis of any order of dimension and maybe of any value, and by only in terms of these difference values. These difference values becomes the basic format values. So the format values compendium in respect of the format of synthesis of dimensions of any order. So linear order dimensions, spatial order dimensions, solid order dimensions, creative order dimensions of any order. The difference is going to be this. It is this format values compendium of this format which deserves to be comprehended well. It deserves to be imbibed well. By imbibing this and doing this, we can reach at the values, synthesis values of any number of dimensions of the same order. Therefore, and when we will see, then we should make a specific entry in our this compendium. And when we'll see the difference between the two, here, sequential difference, -2, -5, and see what it comes to be. -5, it gives us -2, -3, -9 gives us -2, -3, -4. Therefore, this setup, this range of values, this feature of this format is also of a sequential format. By absorbing this, by comprehending this, by appreciating this, we are actually reaching at a very basic format of the applied values of the format, a unified format, integrated format, upon which there is going to be a chase of dimensional synthesis. Dimensional synthesis of dimensions of the same order is being tabulated here. So if there is an order, linear order, and there is a single dimension, value is 1. Pair of dimensions, value 3. Triple dimension, value 6. If we are at a spatial dimensions, single dimension, value 2. Pair of dimensions, 4. Triple dimension, 6. And if we have solid dimensions, the values are 3, 5, 6. If we have creative dimension, 4, 6, 6, 4, 0. If we have a zero dimensional order, value 0, 2, 6, 12, 20, 30. If we have a negative linear order, and like that. So all dimensional orders may be positive, negative, or 0. The synthesis of the dimensions of the same order gives us a particular format. The format is this. Along this format, the dimensional synthesis is being attained. It is being worked out. So it is availability of this particular format gives and takes to a very satisfying. So the achievement of Vedic systems lies in reaching at the unified format for the phenomenon of synthesis of dimensions. Synthesis of dimensions is the basic phenomenon in terms of which the pure values of the dimensional spaces formats are being availed by Vedic mathematics, science, and technology. So this phenomenon of synthesis, dimensional synthesis values for tabulation shall be worked out as a very blissful exercise. One shall very gently comprehend it, one shall very gently reach it, one shall evaluate oneself whether one can easily reach it. And though on the face of it there may be many details, It may be on first principles, it may take some number of steps, but the ultimate, the unified format values gives us a difference values of the pair of consecutive synthesis values rows. So any consecutive pair of dimensional orders gives us a unified rule for reaching at the synthesis values. Now, then the second thing to be reached at is a domain split. So if domain n is there, it will split into a pair of flows dimensions of n minus 2. So this split will take us to this split, and here it would be n minus 4 as a dimension. At a further step, these will split into n minus 4 and n minus 4 and dimensional order n minus 6. This will again take us to n minus 4 and n minus 4, and here the order would be n minus 6. It is here, this table. This is the figure. It is actually flow chart. This flow chart is to be aware that originally we would be having a value 1, then it would be taking us to the 2 flow lines. At the next stage we will be having 5 flow lines, then there would be a 12, then ultimately it would be 29, 70 and so on. See how it comes to be. It is double of this plus this. Here it is double of this plus this. Here it is double of this plus this. Here it is double of this plus this. So sit comfortably, permit the transcending mind to reach at this format of this flow chart of the domain splits. Domain as a single entity splits into a pair of flow lines, pair of streams in the form of dimensions. Then a step ahead it reaches at 5 streams. At step ahead it reaches at 12 streams. At a step ahead it reaches at 29 streams. One can have a pause here and take note that it is first split, second split, third split and fourth split. So fourth stage split of a domain is of value 29. It is this value, it is this reach which is a reach of Upaved. It is applied value reach. It is the reach of a Brahma. It is the reach of a Mansar. Therefore, the Vedic mathematics, science and technology in being chased shall in this format's values compendium make a specific tabulation, make a specific entry of this domain split spectrum. This domain split spectrum flow chart is the basic flow chart, is the basic format along which the domain split is being chased. This chart, dimensions synthesis values table, is the basic table of Vedic mathematics of pure values where the dimensional synthesis is being tabulated. So whole range of dimensions of every order gets tabulated here. So dimensions of any order gets synthesized. Synthesis of dimensions and the split of domain. Synthesis of dimension and split of the domain. Synthesis of dimension and split of the domain. These are the two catchwords. These are these pair of phenomena. These pair of phenomena shall be comprehended well. One shall sit comfortably, permit the transcending mind to be face to face with these pair of phenomena. Therefore, our prayer, which begins with the recitation of the text of Ganita Sutras, and when a step ahead we are in a meditation, we are going through the mathematical processing steps, which makes our mathematical mind a step ahead we have to see how there happens to be this fort explosion, catasphore at the origin. And when this catasphore is being ultimately remanifesting, in this remanifestation process, then occur a pair of phenomena. First phenomenon is of the domain split spectrum. The another phenomenon is a dimensional synthesis. So in the explosion, at the center, there happens to be a phenomenon of a dimensional synthesis and also happens to be of a domain split. Domain splits, dimension synthesize. Dimension synthesize and domain split. And this phenomenon, when it is happening at that, then we'll see and reaching at a origin as a seat of compactified origins. At the origin, at the center of the cube, at the center of hypercube 4, at the center of hypercube 5, sequentially, actually there is a compactified range. Whole range of origins are compactified at the origin of any dimension, and these sequentially unfold themselves, and this happens as an explosive phenomenon. In this explosion, in this fort, there happens to be a transition, a reach from one dimensional space to another dimensional space. So dimensional space to another dimensional space is a transition. Dimensions are synthesized, domains are split. Split of domain, synthesis of dimensions, explosion at the center. These all are the features which are observed only by the mathematical mind. Mathematical mind on a unified state. It is this format, unified format of the intelligence. It is this mind state. In this mind state, on this format, the intelligence field eventually unfolds itself and sequentially takes us to have a remanifestation process at each step of explosion, at each step of a remanifestation. Then parallel phenomenon are the domain split spectrum and synthesis of dimensions. So all these catchwords, all these captions, all these phenomena shall be sequentially, distinctively made entries in our formats values compendium. It is going to be a very big exercise. It is going to be big initiations. With this initiation, with these steps, once one is fully acquainted, once one is face to face with all these features and phenomena, then by observing the same, the intelligence field absorbing the same will of its own make it a transcendental carrier's mind. It is this transcendental mind which will of its own will make it a self-referral. These are the features which are to be absorbed. So sadhakas, students of Vedic Mathematics, Science and Technology, shall sequentially, very gently go through this Vedic process of parallel to the intelligence field. Therefore, one shall pray daily, one shall meditate daily, one shall be through the different phases and stages of the meditation, and during this meditation one shall sequentially reach at how the universe of ours, how the existence phenomenon is passing through different sequential transition steps, and in which is happening, simultaneously happening, domain splits, synthesis of dimensions, and then again there is going to be compactifications, and then there is the unfolding process, and whole and everything is happening. And it is this happening which is being the real life. It is going to be the real feature. It is here where the values and bliss of Vedic Mathematics, Science and Technology lies. Sit comfortably, pray, meditate, go parallel to the unified state of intelligence of a Vedic mathematical mind. We may go parallel to the transcendental carriers, and from this stage onwards we will be reaching, glimpsing the next phase, how upon the black matter the light gets superimposed and how the transcendental carriers are actually creating life cycles in this solar universe. Thank you very much.